been taken very far.
Is that true? I am very thankful to you, Mr. Holmes.
Your ladyship? We found your mistress's silverware.
Oh, that's good news. You really are as clever as they say.
Indeed.
Well, Holmes, do you have a lead?
Dr. Watson, it's Mr. Isa Whitney. He says it's urgent.
Isn't that the fellow we found in the opium den while I was undercover there? Or am I mistaken?
Yes, the gentleman whom I wrote about in The Man with a Twisted Lip. But I must go. This addiction of his causes irreversible damage.
In that case, I shall continue the investigation alone.
I hope that you'll tell me everything when I return.
Let us see how the rope was cut. The fibers at the end of the rope are smoothly cut. Let us try to find out what tool was used to cut the rope. The fibers from this cut appear to be different. If I cut the rope with a knife, it matches the original. My analysis table. It is useful for my work. My archive. I can always consult with it if needed. Brave Toby, the best nose in the British Empire. This door leads to the upstairs bedrooms. Apparently the criminals did not venture there. Antique hunting weapons. A hunter's case.
Oh, what a horrible thing to have happened.
It is called antique. The description of the Randall gang provided by Lady Brackenstall is identical to the one in the Times article. Here it is. The shipping company, the Adelaide, Southampton, London line, and its address. Interesting. It must be the place where they keep the records, including the one for the crew of the Rock of Gibraltar.
I think that if you pretend you're from Scotland Yard, they'll give it to you without any problems.
But I have another solution. I'll call in the specialist. This is where I keep my post. This is where I keep my post.
Holmes, don't look at me like that. I don't know what to think about all this.
My archive. I can always consult with it if needed. My archive. I can always consult with it if needed. My archive. I can always consult with it if needed. This is... Watson, I need Wiggins. Is he anywhere nearby?
He's right across the street. You can give him a sign from the window.
Wiggins, could you come upstairs, please?
At your service, Mr. Holmes.
I need a register, my young friend. If you could borrow it, there will be half a guinea for every one of you. I need the crew list of the Rock of Gibraltar in 1893 and their current employment.
I'm straight on it, Mr. Holmes.
Do you really think they'll find it, Holmes?
My secret police is better than the Yard in many ways.
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. But we can't take it back. It's too risky.
Put it on the table. I'll take care of it. Good work, young Wiggins.
I left it right on the table for you, sir.
This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. And these are the lists of the senior officers of the Adelaide, Southampton, London Line ships. Let us find out who was in London upon November the 7th. I do not think that this sailor has any connection to the case. This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. I do not think that this sailor has any connection to the case. I do not think that this sailor has any... This officer was on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the time of the crime. I do not think that this sailor has any connection to the case. I do not think that This officer was on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the time of the crime. Mr. Jack Crocker was in London upon the date of the crime, and he is due to depart in 2 days. I do not think that this sailor had... Mr. Jack Crocker. I do not think... I do not... I do... This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. I do not think that this sailor has any... I do not think... This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. Captain Jack Crocker is our mysterious visitor. He was the only one around at the time of the murder.
This Crocker, do you think...
It would be interesting to meet him. Our young friend should be able to find him. Wiggins, could you find a way to bring this Captain Crocker here to us?
Here? Holmes, that could be dangerous.
No problem, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, I was informed that you were looking for me, and I'd like to know why.
Yes, it is important that we talk. You will soon understand why. You are acquainted with Lady Mary Brackenstall, are you not?
Yes, I think I do remember her, from when I was first officer, but I still don't see...
It seems your relationship went beyond that of mere passenger and first officer.
How dare you?
Indeed, how reckless a feeling is love, particularly if one is prepared to commit a murder in its name.
Explain yourself this instant.
You are aware that the murder made the headlines of the morning press. You read the newspaper report, but to your dismay, found it much
You... and what do you know?
That evening, you were with Lady Brackenstall, despite the danger.
I'm not afraid, Mr. Holmes. Besides, all of this is just guesswork.
You would be right if there was no evidence.
What then?
Lady Brackenstall was tied to a chair on the night of the murder. And it was you who tied her up.
You call that evidence?
Yes, as she was tied with a sailor's knot. Your handiwork.
So, it's a sailor who's done it. That proves nothing, Mr. Holmes. I'm not the only sailor in London right now. Your theory is flawed anyway. On the night of the murder, I was aboard the Sharp. I was supervising the repair of a porthole.
At night?
It was an emergency. There was a leak. You can ask the ship's carpenter. He can confirm.
I'm sure that he can.
Perfect. In that case, we have nothing more to talk about. Good evening, gentlemen.
Holmes, what should we do now? Would you like to check his alibi?
No. There is no doubt that these men will testify in his favor, and there will be no way to check.
So, what then?
So, we must work with what we have. We have all the puzzle pieces.
Now I understand why you dissected the bell rope.
Wiggins, could you ask Mr. Crocker to come here again, please?
Right away.
Why did you make me come here again, Mr. Holmes?
It is over. I know that it was you who killed Sir Eustace Brackenstall.
What?
I know, because of the height at which the rope was cut. The knife used was a sea knife. The knots were sailor's knots, and not least the sheer force that was put behind the killing blow. And because you are the only one who knows Lady Mary Brackenstall in London. And because you love her.
It's true.
It is time for you to tell us the whole truth.
I admit that I loved Mary madly from the first day that I met her. But I never did come to visit her, for I believed that she was in a happy household. When I talked to her maid, who told me everything, I was insane with rage. I was due to set sail for 6 months away. I wanted only to see her again. But it turned into a damnable nightmare when he barged in. He dared raise his hand to her. He was not even worthy of licking her boots. Oh, I regret nothing. I admit I killed the monster out of love for her. She will forgive me if she is able.
Lady Brackenstall already forgave you. She said nothing.
Mary.
But that makes her an accomplice as well as her maid. It places her in danger yet again.
Mr. Holmes.
You would not have managed to protect her.
Till I die, do you hear me? Here is a letter that sets everything clear, and it is the one that should be disclosed to the police. I am the only culprit. Mary had nothing to do with it. Now it is time to end this. You should have let me die. How can I live if Mary suffers?
I am sorry, Captain Crocker, but there has been quite enough death in this case. Inspector, I give you Sir Eustace's killer. He tried his best to perform his own justice.
Well, I'm not surprised. Yes, it was me. I confess.
Here is a piece of evidence that can be used in court.
Perfect. A case that went smoothly for once.